now that I went on that tirade, let me get you introduced to Mr. James Fleming of Warfighter Concepts. Oh, where do I begin with James Fleming? He is a one-of-a-kind guy, truly has a heart of gold. I met James for the first time in person during his classes that he had in Montana in this past May. And I took his one-day basic pistol. I'm not too good for basic pistol, guys. I mean, fundamentals are everything. 2-day intermediate pistol, and I took his basic rifle as well. And it was so much fun. Justin took the class as well, and he really enjoyed it. We got a lot out of it. We had a ton of fun. And, the one thing, well, there's many things, but one of the things I love about James, probably the most, is that he loves people. He really cares about people. When I first met him, I wasn't sure what to think of him. I'll be honest, because he's this like big, muscular, like military dude, and, but man, he's got a soft heart. He really cares about people. And he's the kind of guy that'll leave no one behind. I mean that in every sense of the word, because, if there's a new shooter on the line that really is falling through the cracks and really needs help, he will adapt his teaching style to make sure that each and every person gets what they need out of his class. And as we talked about before, about the traits of good and bad instructors, one of the traits of a great instructor is being able to adapt to their students. And James can certainly do that. He walks the walk. He doesn't just talk the talk. And that's what I love the most about him. And the other thing that's cool about James is he's really passionate about physical fitness as well, about mental focus. And he understands that being a competent shooter and a competent defender requires all of those things. So, I've had conversations with him about that too. And then at the end of the day, he's an awesome guy to be around. He has a lot of energy, and you'll see his heart here on the live tonight, I'm sure. And you'll see that great part of James that we all love. So before we do that, though, I want to debut a video, and I'm going to pause the recording while we do that. Only the people on the live tonight are allowed to see this video. And the reason for that is because there are people on the video, their faces will be on the video, that he wants to protect their privacy. And you'll understand that once we start showing the video. So I'm going to pause the recording out of respect of some of the guys on his video, and we'll play that, and then I'll be back here in just a second for those watching the replay. So stand by. Okay, we are back live again with James Fleming. And so that was a pretty cool video, guys. I saw that just for the first time today, and I thought, we have got to show that to everybody. That is a great, well put together video that kind of talks a little bit about James's mission and his purpose. And James, is there anything that you want to add to that? Let's just get a little sense. There's a lot of people here that don't know you, about your background and your mission.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, thanks for the invite. When you asked me about a week or two ago, I was super excited about joining you on live. Thank you for Defenders USA for giving this platform. This is the first for me, so it's exciting. That whole video was really an event that we did for a YPO, Young Presidents Organization. Some clientele that really just wanted to get away from the golf course and do something completely unique. And well, I just had some of the most elite staff and cadre to assist on that, and it was flawless, and we had a great time doing it. So thank you for sharing that. I'm here in sunny San Diego, so please don't hold that against me. My wife was a Navy pilot for 20 years. She dragged me out here to Southern California. So this is where my home is, and just happens to be where I work as well. I work with the Navy SEAL program. Their lead weapons instructor. I've been there for the last 14 years. And to be honest, talk about a privilege, talk about an honor to be able to continue to serve and really share my experiences and make our young Navy SEALs that much more competent and capable, right? So it's been fun. I've got a few other things going on in the world. I've got drone operations going on over in Europe, a place called Ukraine. I've got folks down in Colombia doing counter-drug, counter-human trafficking with the State Department, just trying to defend, as you would say, and put away some bad people. So, I just picked up a new hobby, archery. I got my first compound bow, and I've got some hunts already planned. So I'm super excited about that.
Awesome. Now, for everybody that's on here, James obviously trains civilians as well, because, hey, I'm not a military girl, although sometimes I wish I would have been. So yeah, James, we're curious. Justin and I were talking about this morning, and we said, I wonder how much different it is to train people, that are in the military or law enforcement versus civilians. Are there some drastic differences there? I imagine so.
Yeah, I think there is. Well, let me just say this: the military and most law enforcement agencies, to include federal agents, they're all about structure, and they want to know the 5 Ws. Where, when, how, all that stuff, and they have expectations, just because they're part of that community. And with the civilians, I think they show up with the same desire, right, to improve. And so from my experiences, I find that I kind of treat everybody the same, although there's moments with the military organizations that I throw a little bit more stiffer communication to them at times, because sometimes they need to be guided a little bit more. So I'll use that word, guided. But in the end, it's all the same. Folks want to show up and they want to learn. And that's really where my bucket is watching people grow and become better. So.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's start out with, could you give a few steps for those that are just getting started that will help them along their defender's journey? Where did they begin in this process, do you think?
In terms of, as a defender, as you mentioned earlier, the mindset and all that, right? I think it's really just people want to develop skills, and if it's shooting, that's great. I think it really has to start with a healthy mindset. What do I want to do, and how do I get there? For beginner shooters, let's just use beginners. I'm a big fan of just simple fundamentals and do them ad nauseum. Dry fire and put work in. Fundamentals are everything. And I think the market has been flooded in some good ways, but there are so many instructors out there. And, for customers, clients, shooters, students, trying to find which instructor they want to go to. And I'm a fan of trying to find not just one instructor, but many instructors that you can really connect with, because it really just gives you a different take on certain approaches or techniques. But for beginners, I just be patient, be mindful, certainly put the work in. Basic fundamentals are everything. And don't be so critical. Take your time with it and enjoy it, because I've taught so many people, and I see on the line they're not doing well, and you can see their body language change, and that's where the instructor comes in to really build them back up. I see a lot of head shaking on the line. I'm like, well, we got to turn that into up and down, vertical, right? Let's get a head nod on this and make it right. So I think we become so critical of ourselves as beginners, like, oh God, I am terrible. Just relax, upload that information and put it to practice. And before you know it, I tell my daughters, they're into all kinds of sports, just be patient and just practice, and you'll find the results. You mentioned something earlier, process. That's what I teach in my classes. I don't talk about speed. I don't talk about end state. I talk about process. And if you focus on process, those efficiencies that you're searching for, that capability will just start to seep in, right? And then you start throwing in some variables of volume and tempo. So don't rush it. Enjoy this part. right? As a beginner. I hope
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And that's good advice for anybody at any level, really. I mean, advanced or intermediate shooters are just like, masters at the fundamentals, right? So everything's about fundamentals. Okay, so can you give us your thoughts on what you think the difference between being a defender and being a shooter are?
Well, I think you captured it, but I'll chop on that a little bit. Shooting is just a skill set, right? It's just a gun, whether it's a rifle, a bow, for that matter, a pistol, self-defense or competitive, it doesn't matter. Shooting is just one component, but if you really want to capture the defender mentality, that means to be prepared. And I've done some presentations before, and I think I could probably encapsulate the whole concept. Physically fit, mentally strong, morally straight. And anybody out there on the live, that's actually from the Boy Scouts. So, but it is certainly true. Take care of your body, because if you're not in optimal shape based on your limitations, but the best version of you physically, it certainly ties in to the mental aspects of dealing with chaos, dealing with stress. It will reduce those moments where someone who's not fit, and now they are breathing out of control, physically fit, mentally strong. Those really tie in together. If you're physically fit, typically you'll find this mental strength because you're going through that struggle each and every day, whether it's running and swimming and hiking, whatever your thing is to get fit. I think it certainly ties in. And then of course, morally straight, maybe that's an added bonus, but just be a kind person. But from a defender's standpoint, right? Be aware of what you're doing. Just be aware, like getting out of the car, getting from the store into the car, into buildings. What's my exits? Just be aware of your surroundings. It's unfortunate, we can't just walk around and just enjoy things. We can, but we still need a level of awareness in our space as a defender, right? So I'd say, avoiding problems is, a good 75% of the problems that we face, right? If you're not aware and you just walk into problems, you could probably avoid that just by being aware.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Well, you kind of answered the next question I was gonna ask you. So So I'll move on to the one after that. And if you guys have questions for James, feel free to put those in the chat as well. So the next question I have for you is, because I know that you're doing a lot of leadership stuff. I mean, you're an exceptional leader anyway, just intuitively you are, but what in your mind makes a good leader?
Well, I'd like to start on the other end of it, because we all know what bad leaders look like, right? Or the experiences of bad leaders. But leadership really is, great leadership is folks that first and foremost are comfortable with themselves. They have, all these virtues and characteristics, attributes of selflessness, committed to their team to the utmost, right? Doing more than what's expected of them. Within the instructor role, you're a leader. You're basically motivating people to do something, whether it's a task, a complex problem-solving effort, or just a simple shooting drill. As instructors, you've got to show leadership, and it's being, empathetic, compassionate. All these attributes tie into what I see as a great leader. Being able to make decisions, like sometimes when no time is available, having the ability through experience to lead people, and make the right decision, and understand when you make a wrong one, and be vulnerable to say, hey, I take full responsibility for all things that went wrong. Let's talk about that. right?
Yeah, being accountable is huge. There have been, I would say, leaders in my life that have let me down because I didn't feel like they were accountable to what, their actions were. And that's really disappointing. That's a huge part of being a good leader, I think. And that takes a big piece of humble pie sometimes to do that. So,
Yeah. As a leader, I think also is just being humble, and let your ego sit at the door. Ego shouldn't be part of any of that. It should be pure and simple. Your focus is to take care of your team, take care of your employees, take care of whoever you work, you're in charge of, and give them 100% of yourself, like complete commitment.
absolutely. Okay. Let's see. What is something new you've learned this year that has changed your mind about something?
I've got somebody ringing the doorbell, which nobody comes to my house, and my dog is barking, so I apologize for that.
We might get to see James in action.
One thing that happened over this year that's changed me, can you repeat that one more time so I can really digest it?
Sure. What is something new that you've learned this year that has changed your mind about something?
Well, that's broad. I'm gonna stick it to what most of us on this live chat is thinking, from a shooting perspective. I was lucky enough to hire a guy by the name of Joe Farewell. And Joe Farewell's a competitive shooter. He's probably top 20 shooters in the country. And he works for me with the Navy SEAL program. And he came to one of our shooting courses. He typically will handle all the pistol work. I'll handle the rifle, and then we combine the two, and then we're off to the races and having fun. He shared a concept on target transitions, from meaning I'm shooting at one target and I need to go to another and potentially another, right? The way he broke it down, the concept of transition, I've been around the shooting world for many years, and this is the first time I've ever heard it. And the way he layered it, the way he approached it, the way he demoed it, to include how the students were going to implement. Because as instructors, we all see this, right? Hey, this is what we're going to do, X, Y, Z. And it's like, whoa, that's a big pizza sitting right in front of you, and you got to eat it, right? He broke it down to a slice, and we said, nope, we're going to do this. And then we added, and we started adding layers to it. And it was so well received. And it just changed my mind on the way I was teaching. And it really created some benefits for my students, that I had the ability to kind of adapt it, and then start playing with it on my own before I presented it. And it's turned some heads in many ways, positive stuff. Yeah.
That's awesome, because you've been an instructor for, what did you say, 15 years?
15 with the Navy SEALs. I was running the Federal Air Marshal program down in Miami. I was running the entire training division, tactics and shooting. So, and of course, my Army life, 7,320 days. I think that's 20 years. Yeah, that's 20 years, something like that. So, long time.
So that's good that you're still able to change your mind about things, right? I think
I think we have to all evolve and stop being stagnant, right? That's what it's all about. When you think you're good, that's when you're going to get your butt handed to you. So you really got to stay like on the treadmill, right? On the wheel. That gerbil keeps running and running and running, right? You got to find new things or old things and really reinvent and adapt. And that's the only way you're going to evolve to become better, whatever it may be, right?
absolutely. So I have this other question here. I didn't tell you about this question. Can I throw you a curveball?
There's nothing here. Come on.
I knew you'd be up for that. Talk about one of the most impactful teaching moments you've experienced, either as a student or as a teacher.
Oh, there's many. Most impactful. Um, well, I will say across the board, it's always seeing students, regardless of any level, is when that light bulb pops and it turns on, and they're like, "Whew, yeah." One in particular course, I was really, I mean, talk about filling your bucket as an instructor. And you might appreciate this. It was a San Diego Police Department, but it was all women, only women officers. And I say, I advertised it, and I think internally for me, I've got 5 sisters. So internally to me, I'm always looking out, protecting my sisters, or my daughters for that matter right now. So I wanted to train just women, and I've seen it in the military, and I think some folks in the audience could probably relate to this. Adam, for sure. You know, in organizations where guns are part of the deal, right? I've oftentimes see this segregation. We'll get a group of folks, they'll get a range officer on the line, and he's talking to the class, but he's almost ignoring the women within the course. Whether it's intentional or not, I see it, right? I see body language, and I see even separation into where they stand. All the women typically would stand somewhere to the back, because they know, or when they're on the line, especially in police departments, I've witnessed a lot of police departments, and it's not a knock on them. It's just, well, training budgets for police departments are next to nil, right? So they get police officer that enjoy shooting, they become a range officer. And so this is a long answer to your question, but I think it's important. Understanding that, listen, this is the team. It's a complete team, men and women. So you have to address the entire group. And I would often see it in the military too. Women would stick off to the side or the back, and you'd have to engage them just to bring them in. So I advertised all women. I had 15 women show up. It was a rifle pistol 2-day course. I break out kettlebells. I break out barricades. I'm breaking out physicality. These women were like monsters, like amazing monsters. And we put them through fundamentals. And then we layered it, and then we started putting physicality to it. And it was a hot day, of course. And I always pick the hot ones for some reason. And they absolutely smashed it. And at the end of it, not one complaint, not one complaint. They absolutely loved it. And just the remarks and the comments were, this is the best training we've ever received, period. That sticks out in my mind. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you've talked to me before about those moments of getting your bucket filled. And we need that. We need that as instructors, but it just as humans in general, if we're trying to help others, I think it's really important that we have those moments, with other people that we can really remember, and we can remember those moments maybe when things aren't going so good, and we can hang on to that for for inspiration.
Yep. No, it was I don't know. I left that day. I was on cloud 9. I really was. I was in a good mood. So
yeah, definitely. Does anybody else have any questions in the chat? If so, put those in. And I'm going to throw one last winger at you here. A winger. Is that a word? Anyway, it's my word. I want to know, who does James Fleming look up to and why?
Ooh, too many people. Well, I'd start with first my older brother. He's kind of my hero. Just, my entire life, he's always been my hero. in so many ways, and I can't say it within like a short time frame, but I will tell you, he always saw something in me, regardless of my whole career started off with failure first. You know, personally, it wasn't your cookie cutter approach to life. But my brother always gave me words of confidence and, you know, advice, even when I didn't need it. But he's always been there for me, and he's an amazing father. He's a savant brain, which I don't have that. He is just one of those guys that I just look up to. But throughout my military career, there's just too many that have influenced me to keep my compass heading on point, who've motivated me to do things that I wasn't even like mentally thinking I could accomplish. They dug it out of me and exposed me to things that made me the man I am today. If I could throw names out, Matt Ryerson, John Mesa Hunis, John Hale, shit, too many of them. Some still with us, some not, but amazing humans, amazing patriots too. So
I think we all need those people in our lives, and we work as hard as we can to be that for others too, you know. It's really important.
Indeed.
So before we wrap up here tonight, I mean, it's already almost been an hour. I can't believe that. Where can people find you, James, if they want to learn more about your organization?
Yeah, warfighterconcepts.com. Obviously, I'm in San Diego, but I have guns and will travel. If you are interested in having me come out to train, and you want to be my residential champion, like Miss Trish Reese, up in Montana, she was kind enough to host me up there. Now she's my big sister. So warfighterconcepts.com. You can email me at james@warfighterconcepts.com. If you got any questions that you were not wanting to list on your chat tonight, hit me up an email. I'll answer your question. I'll even have a chat with you if you like.
Yeah, that's what I love about James is he's one of the most approachable guys I think I've ever come in contact with, so much that I was extremely skeptical of him in the beginning. I will fully admit that. It's kind of a joke between us now. How, like, I was like, this guy seems too good to be true. Like, what is up with that? But no, he really is this way, guys. This is just who he is. He has a great heart. So,
if you don't see me, it might change. If you don't.
All right. So before we wrap up tonight, guys, it is lightning and thundering here. I'm surprised you can't hear the thunder through the mic, but hopefully like the electricity stays on and we can continue here. But I want to encourage you guys really quickly before we wrap up. There is a video on Defenders USA YouTube channel that Adam Winch recently posted. I think it was just yesterday or the day before. And it's called Running on Empty. I shared it on my Facebook page and on the Defenders Live page, but I think that's an incredible message that he shared with us this week, and it just talks about what fuels you in life. And it's a really good video, a really good message, Adam. I think you really hit it out of the park with that message, and a lot of people have been talking about it. So I just wanted to shout out and encourage you guys to go on Defenders USA YouTube. It's called Running on Empty. Check that out. I don't see any more questions in the chat here, so I'm probably going to wrap it up here. But just remember, next week, August 31st, we'll have Brian Hill with a complete combatant on. And James, I just want to thank you so much for coming on tonight. You're a wonderful human. You're a great instructor, and I'm proud to call you my friend. So.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for joining tonight. And thank you, Defenders USA, for having some time for me to come on board. So thank you.
All right, guys, we'll see you all next week.
All right. Thank you.